The new conceptions that science introduced profoundly influenced modern philosophy. Descartes, who was in a sense the founder of modern philosophy, was himself one of the creators of 17th century science. The men who founded modern science had two merits which are not necessarily found together: immense patience in observation and great boldness in framing hypotheses. Nature and nature's laws lay hid in night. God said, "Let Newton be," and all was light. He valued his method as showing how to arrange the observational data upon which science must be based. We ought, he says, to be neither like spiders, which spin things out of their own insides, nor like ants, which merely collect, but like bees, which both collect and arrange. Hobbes's merit is great. He is vigorous but crude, wielding the battle axe better than the rapier. Nevertheless, his theory of the state deserves careful consideration, being more modern than any previous theory, even that of Machiavelli. Felicity involves continual progress. It consists in prospering, not in having prospered. There is no such thing as static happiness, excepting, of course, the joys of heaven which surpass our comprehension. There remains, however, something that I cannot doubt. No demon, however cunning, could deceive me if I did not exist. I may have no body, this might be an illusion, but thought is different. Insofar as what happens to us springs from ourselves, it is good. Only what comes from without is bad for us. Blessedness, which consists of love towards God, is not the reward of virtue, but virtue itself. We do not rejoice in it because we control our lusts, but we control our lusts because we rejoice in it. Spinoza's principle of thinking about the whole, or at least about larger matters than your own grief, is a useful guide towards sanity and an antidote to the paralysis of utter despair in a painful world. The God of the theologians, from Aristotle to Calvin, is one whose appeal is intellectual. His existence solves certain puzzles which otherwise would create argumentative difficulties in the understanding of the universe. The world is partly good and partly bad, and no problem of evil arises unless this obvious fact is denied. Between ideas and practical life, as everywhere else, there is reciprocal interaction. To ask which is cause and which effect is as futile as the problem of the hen and the egg. Enthusiasm laying by reason would set up revelation without it, whereby in effect it takes away both reason and revelation and substitutes in the room of it the ungrounded fancies of a man's own brain. Things as we know them are bundles of sensible qualities. The concept of thing adds nothing to the perceived qualities and is unnecessary. To be observed or to be a percept is merely to have effects of certain kinds, and there is no logical reason why all events should have effects of these kinds. A mind must be some group or structure of events. The mind to which a given mental event belongs is the group of events connected with the given event by memory chains backwards or forwards. Objects have no discoverable connection together, nor is it from any other principle but custom operating upon the imagination that we can draw any inference from the appearance of one to the experience of another. The rejection of reason in favor of the heart was not, to my mind, an advance. In fact, no one thought of this device so long as reason appeared to be on the side of religious belief. To say that the general will is always right is only to say that, since it represents what is in common among the self-interests of the various citizens, it must represent the largest collective satisfaction of self-interest possible to the community. Kant, by his consistency, showed that empiricism, carried to its logical conclusion, led to results which few human beings could bring themselves to accept, and abolished over the whole field of science the distinction between rational belief and credulity. Space is not an empirical concept abstracted from outer experiences. It is a necessary presentation a priori underlying all external perceptions, a unique intuition, not a general concept. The prestige of biology caused men whose thinking was influenced by science to apply biological rather than mechanistic categories to the world. Everything was supposed to be evolving, and it was easy to imagine an imminent goal. To formulate any satisfactory modern ethic of human relationships, it will be essential to recognize the necessary limitations of men's power over the non-human environment and the desirable limitations of their power over each other. The history of the world is the discipline of the uncontrolled natural will, bringing it into obedience to a universal principle and conferring subjective freedom. There are two sorts of saints, the saint by nature and the saint from fear. The saint by nature has a spontaneous love of mankind. He does good because to do so gives him happiness. Bentham maintained that what is good is pleasure or happiness. He used these words as synonyms, and what is bad is pain. Therefore, one state of affairs is better than another if it involves a greater balance of pleasure over pain or a smaller balance of pain over pleasure. Evolution is not primarily explicable by adaptation to environment. Adaptation explains only the turns and twists of evolution, like the windings of a road approaching a town through hilly country. In pure perception, we are actually placed outside ourselves. We touch the reality of the object in an immediate intuition. James's doctrine is an attempt to build a superstructure of belief upon a foundation of skepticism, and like all such attempts, it is dependent on fallacies. In his case, the fallacies spring from an attempt to ignore all extrahuman facts. A false belief is one which, in suitable circumstances, will cause the person entertaining it to experience surprise, while a true belief will not have this effect. But if truth, or rather warranted assertability, depends upon the future, then, insofar as it is in our power to alter the future, it is in our power to alter what should be asserted. This enlarges the sense of human power and freedom. The concept of truth as something dependent upon facts largely outside human control has been one of the ways in which philosophy hitherto has inculcated the necessary element of humility. The habit of careful veracity acquired in the practice of this philosophical method can be extended to the whole sphere of human activity, producing, wherever it exists, a lessening of fanaticism with an increasing capacity of sympathy and mutual understanding. The beauty of the soul is reflected in the harmony of the body and spirit, a timeless truth echoed through the ages.